Lesson 2, I can solve multiplicative comparison word problems by applying the area and perimeter formulas. So, in the last lesson, we talked about how you could find the area and how you could find the perimeter of a rectangle, and we talked about how you could do it a little bit more efficiently with a perimeter and area formula. Today, we're going to use those formulas to solve some multiplicative comparison word problems. I'm going to show you what that means. It sounds complicated, but it isn't. Today we're going to skip the journal and we're going to go right straight to the problem set. Okay, so you're going to notice on your problem set that you have a rectangle, and here's your problem. A rectangular porch is 4 feet wide. It's 3 times as long as it is wide. So it says label the diagram with the dimensions of the porch. So it tells us in the problem that it is 4 feet wide. So we're going to start there with 4 feet wide. So we're going to put 4, and I'm just going to label this feet. Now it says that it is 3 times as long as it is wide. That's your multiplicative comparison. When it says something is 3 times as long or 4 times as long or 2 times as long, it's comparing the length to the width using multiplication because it says 3 times as long. So if it's 3 times as long, that means it's got 4 feet. So that's where they get 3 times long. So think of the length as being 4 feet, 4 feet, 4 feet, which is a total of 12 feet, and the width is 4 feet. Okay, so that is a multiplicative comparison. Now we're going to find the perimeter of the porch. You can use any formula that you want. I'm going to stick with the formula of the perimeter equals 2 times the length plus the width. Okay, so that would look like this. I would have P. I'm going to start with the formula. Remember, the formulas are in your journal, so if you want to go back and look at the formulas, there's 3 different formulas. I'm going to use this one. 2 times the length plus the width. So the perimeter would equal 2 times 12 plus 4. And that would be 2 times 16. And 16 times 2 is 32. So the perimeter equals 32 feet. You could have used a different perimeter formula, and if you like another formula better, go for it. I just happen to like this one, so I chose to use it. You should get the same answer as me, even if you used a different formula. Okay, so we have a narrow rectangular banner that is 5 inches wide. It is 6 times as long as it is wide. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start by drawing my rectangle. There's my rectangle. I have the fortunate ability to be able to draw a nice perfect rectangle. Yours probably won't look that perfect. That's perfectly okay. Right now I'm going to go ahead and start labeling this. So let me get the pen working. So I know that it is 5 inches wide, so I'm going to come over here and I'm going to label this 5 inches. And it said that it is 6 times as long as it is wide, okay? So I'm going to have 6 5 inches. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 times. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's 6 times as wide. Now I'm going to find the perimeter and the area. So for the perimeter, I'm going to do 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. I'm going to do 30 plus 5 times 2. So the perimeter would equal 35 times 2. So the perimeter would be equal to 70 inches. And then for the area, I'm going to do length times width. So the area would be 30 times 5. So that would make the area 150 square inches. Look at problem number 3. The area of a rectangle is 42 square centimeters. Its length is 7 centimeters. What's the width of the rectangle? get tricky, don't they? I want to make sure that you really understand. So let's start by drawing a model. That's always important. I'll start by just drawing a rectangle. And think about what I know. I know that the area is 42 square centimeters, and I know the length is 7 centimeters. So I'm trying to find the width. So I know that the formula for area is area equals length times width. So this is going to be 42 equals 7 times something. So I know 7 times 6 equals 42. So the width is 6 centimeters. So that sentence, the width is. Okay, so Charlie wants to draw a second rectangle that is the same length but is 3 times as wide. Draw and label Charlie's second rectangle. So I'm going to assume that when it says 3 times as wide, it means 3 times as wide as the length, not 3 times as wide as his original rectangle. So I'm going to go up here and I'm going to draw the rectangle 3 times as wide. So I'm going to try to make it a little bit wider than it is long. I'm going to go ahead and divide it into 3 parts because it's 3 times as wide. So if it's 7 centimeters long, it's 3 times as wide. So 7 centimeters, 7 centimeters. Okay. So you could have said 7, 7, 7, 7. It would have been okay if you went ahead and just said, okay, I know 7 times 3 is 21 centimeters, and did it just like that. All right, let's go on down to part C. What is the perimeter of Charlie's second rectangle? Again, I want you to pause the video and try to find the perimeter. Okay, I'm going to stick with that same perimeter formula that I've been using, which is 2 times length plus width. And I know I keep saying this over and over. It's okay what formula for perimeter you choose to use. This is just the one that I like best. Right, so the length is 7 centimeters and the width is 21 centimeters. So the perimeter is going to be 2 times 28 centimeters. 28 times 2 is 56. So the perimeter take a look at problem number 4. The area of Betsy's rectangular sandbox is 20 square feet. The longer side measures 5 feet. The sandbox at the park is twice as long and twice as wide as Betsy's. So this part up here is not a question. This is just giving us information. We'll get down here. All right, so it says draw and label a diagram of Betsy's sandbox. So when I come to the rectangular, so I'm going to go ahead and draw a rectangle. And then it says that the area is 20 square feet. So I'm going to go ahead and label that. And it said the longer side measures 5 feet. So I know that area equals length times width. I want you to try to see if you can figure out what side is. Okay? And then once you figure out what that side is, go ahead and find the perimeter. But if you want to stay with me, I'll be glad to walk you through it. The area is 20 square feet. I have a length of 5 feet times. So the something has to be 4 feet. So the width is going to be 4 feet because 4 feet times 5 feet equals 20. But the question doesn't say what's the width. It says what is the perimeter. Now that I know that the side is 4 feet, I'm going to go back and find the perimeter. So again, I'm going to stick with the same formula I've been using. Perimeter equals 2 times length plus width. Right? It's going to be 2 times 4. It's going to be 2 times equals 18 feet. I'm going to go just a little bit, and I'm going to write my sentence. By writing this sentence, you go back and look at the question to make sure you're answering the question. Because if I wasn't careful, I would have just said that the answer was 4 feet if I didn't read carefully, because I would think, oh, I already solved one problem. But that's not what it asked. All right, so for B, it says Draw and label a diagram of the sandbox at the park. They ask again, what is the perimeter? I want you to try to do this one by yourself and come back and check. If you get stuck and you don't know where to begin, you can do it with me. So it says that the sandbox at the park is twice as long and twice as wide as Betsy's. Now, this is not a very accurate drawing. Obviously, this is way longer than it is wide. So really, it would probably look something like this. So this would be 10 foot because that's twice 5 foot. And then it would be 8 foot wide because that's twice 4 foot. And it says what's the perimeter. So the perimeter is 2 times length plus width. So the perimeter is 2 times 18. I just went ahead and kind of skipped. 8 plus 2 is 10. So the perimeter equals 36 feet. All right, throw down a little bit. Give myself perimeter is, that's all. I want you to make sure that you do the practice before you do the exit slip. And if you need extra practice, do the additional practice. Good luck. Okay, so let's look at the relationship between the two perimeters. So if you go back and look at part A and B, you can see that Betsy's perimeter was 18 feet and the sandbox was 36 feet. So that's the first thing that I'm going to put. I'm going to put Betsy was 18 feet and the perimeter of the park sandbox was 36 feet. So when I look at these two numbers, I'm noticing that the park's perimeter is double Betsy's. So that's going to be the relationship. The perimeter of the park sandbox is double Betsy's sandbox. Okay, find the area of the park sandbox using the formula area equals length times width. So I'm going to go back and look at B and find the length and width of the park sandbox. So 10 and 8, so that would be 10 times 8. So I'm just going to put equals 10 feet times 8 feet, which equals 80 square feet. The sandbox at the park has an area that's how many times that of Betsy's sandbox. So let's go back and look at the area of Betsy's sandbox. So the area of Betsy's sandbox is 20 square feet. So if Betsy's sandbox is 20 square feet, so let's take a look here. So B stands for Betsy. That's 20 square feet. So then the park is 80. So I'm going to see how many 20s that is. So this is 20, 40, I bet you're seeing it, 60, that would be 80. So if I counted by 20s, 20, 40, 60, 80. So that's 4 20s. So that means that the area of the sandbox at the park is 4 times greater than Betsy's sandbox. So let's think about this for a minute. It says compare the way the perimeter changed with the way the area changed between the two sandboxes. Explain what you notice with words, pictures, or numbers. So I want you to take just a second to stop and think about how that has changed. Okay, so I'm going to draw a model here just to think about this for a second. So I'm just looking at the way the perimeter changed compared to the area. So if this little square represents Betsy's sandbox. And then here I have the park's sandbox. Okay? if Betsy's is 20 square feet, and this is 20, 20, 20, 20, then you could think of this as fitting 4 of Betsy's sandbox into the park sandbox. So the perimeter of Betsy's sandbox only doubled, but the area quadrupled. So let's think about that for a second. So if the perimeter of the park sandbox is double the perimeter of Betsy's sandbox, the area is 4 times the area of Betsy's sandbox. When the length and the width are doubled, the perimeter doubled, but the area quadrupled. So if you think about that for a minute, go back and look and see what happened here. So the length and the width doubled. So you can see here, this went from 4, this went from 8, this went from 5, this went from 10. So when you double the length and the width, then you're going to double the perimeter, but you're going to quadruple the area.